Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabhad Girivardhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ram Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ram Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ram Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ram Ramo Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivra Jakacharya Ashtara Sarashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Oh glorious to the assembled devotees. Oh glorious to the assembled devotees. Oh glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, text number 36. Sarivam Shvataram Ninye Sarivam Swataram Ninye Juganam Eka Saptatim Juganam Eka Saptatim Vasudeva Prasangena Paribhuta Gatitraya Sarivam Shwantaram Ninye Juganam Eka Saptatim Vasudeva Prasangena Haribhuta Gatitraya Sarivam Shwantaram Nimye Sarivam Shwantaram Nimye Devashampi Haribhuta Gatitraya Vaishnavis. Sarivam Shwantaram Ninye Juganameka Saptatim Vasudeva Prasangena Haribhuta Gatitraya Sarivam Shwantaram Nimye Juganameka Saptatim Vasudeva Prasangena Haribhuta Gatitraya Saha He Swayambhuva Manu Evam thus Swaantaram his own period Ninye past Yuganam of the cycles of 4 ages Ekashaptatim 71 Vasudeva with Vasudeva Prasangena by topics connected Paribhuta transcended Gatitraya the 3 destinations. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages, 71 times 4,320,000 years, always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus he transcended the 3 destinations. Responsively, he passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages, 71 times 4,320,000. Always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus he transcended the 3 destinations. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 3 destinations are meant for persons who are under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. These destinations are sometimes described as the awakened, dreaming, and unconscious stages. In Bhagavad Gita, the 3 destinations are described as the destinations of persons in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is stated in the Gita that those who are in the mode of goodness are promoted to better living conditions in higher planets. Those who are in the mode of passion remain within this material world on the earth or on heavenly planets, but those in the mode of ignorance are degraded to an animal life on planets where life is lower than human. But one who is Krishna conscious is above these three modes of material nature. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who engages in devotional service to the Lord automatically becomes transcendental to the three destinations of material nature and is situated in the Brahmabhuta or self-realized stage. Although Swayambhuva Manu, the ruler of this material world, appeared to be absorbed in material happiness, he was neither in the mode of goodness nor in the mode of passion or ignorance, but in the transcendental stage. Therefore, one who fully engages in devotional service is always liberated. Bilva Mangala Thakur, a great devotee of the Lord, stated, if I have unflinching devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna, then Mother Liberation is always engaged in my service. The complete perfection of material enjoyment, religion, and economic development is at my command. People are after Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Generally, they perform religious activities to achieve some material gain, and they engage in material activity for sense gratification. After being frustrated in material sense gratification, one wants to be liberated and become one with the absolute truth. These four principles form the transcendental path for the less intelligent. Those who are actually intelligent engage in Krishna consciousness, not caring for these four principles of the transcendental method, for these four principles. They at once elevate themselves to the transcendental platform, which is above liberation. Liberation is not a very great achievement for a devotee, to say nothing of the results of ritualistic performances in religion, economic development, or the materialistic life of sense gratification. Devotees do not care for these. They are situated always on the transcendental platform of the Brahmabhuta stage of self-realization. Om Agnati Manandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Manchakalpa Trubhyascha Kriva Sindhva Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, Swayambhuva's life, compared to our life, seems inconceivably long. 71 times 4,320,000 years, which is 306,720,000 years. nearly 307 million years, which seems unbelievably, inconceivably long. Of course, when we compare it to the life of Lord Brahma, that is a day of Lord Brahma. So I was thinking, also, no matter how long these lifespans are, Lord Brahma, Swayambhuva, at the end of a lifespan, they have to leave the body and take another body. It's not eternal. So they still go through that changing body. So these lifespans to us seem inconceivable. But as soon as we limit Krishna or his creation, I try and think of it in terms of me, and then we come with that. I think have all the young devotees heard Prabhupada's story of Dr. Frog? You know that story? No? You heard that one? Yeah. The Dr. Frog was living in his well, which was only so big, and some friend of his who had been and seen the ocean, the Pacific Ocean maybe, came back to the well and tried to describe how big this ocean was. So Dr. Frog is thinking, well, how big could it be? And so he puffs himself up a bit. This big? His friend says, no, bigger, bigger, bigger. He puffs himself up even more. And the friend says, no, you're not even getting near it. Poor old Dr. Frog, how can he conceive? He's got his little well with a pond in the well, this ocean which is just unlimitedly big. And eventually he puffs himself up so big he explodes. So we can't conceive of Krishna's energy, Krishna's creation, in terms of our own limitations. I was thinking, even on this planet, there are living entities with vastly different time scales, strange bodies of different living entities, even on this planet. Some of these bodies of different living entities seem inconceivable. If you would grant me a little bit of leeway here, I was thinking that I wouldn't mind to point out a few of these weird bodies that are even on this planet, different time scales. So like, for example, butterflies. Most butterflies only live for a few weeks. Some of them only last a couple of days. So compared to our lifespan to them would seem inconceivable. And also, the life of a butterfly is such a strange thing. It's like 4 different completely forms of life, practically. The female butterfly lays some eggs, which are the size of a pinhead, apparently. And that little egg, which is the size of a pinhead, grows into a caterpillar. So the caterpillar, all he does is, in that part of the life of the butterfly, all the caterpillar does is eat. A bit like my existence. He just eats and eats. And apparently he just eats and eats, his body splits open and another caterpillar has to come out. The body can't keep up with the rate of growth. The caterpillar grows about 100 times his original size. 100 times. So after a few weeks, the caterpillar then mysteriously weaves this little cocoon that we know about, which is stuck to the leaf. And gradually, the body of the caterpillar dissolves. And then after some time, the butterfly emerges. So you've got the egg, you've got the caterpillar, then you've got this thing called a chrysalis, where the caterpillar's body just dissolves and a new one, a completely different body. When you think of what a caterpillar looks like compared to a butterfly, a whole new body emerges. The butterfly doesn't grow at all. It just emerges, that's it, for whatever little time period it's got, and it looks for a mate. It gets even more interesting. The butterfly tastes things through his feet. He breathes through his side because he hasn't got any lungs, so he breathes somehow through the side of its body. Seems pretty inconceivable to me how such a thing can exist. There's an insect called a mayfly. They're here in Australia, in the same family as dragonflies. Most of these mayflies live only a day or two. They live in water, they breed, develop in water, and then they turn into this little dragonfly thing for a very brief period. Some of them live for less than 5 minutes. And there's so many millions of them apparently where they exist. Sometimes it can be a danger to driving. Their bodies are so thick on the ground the car can skid. Some of them live 5 minutes. And then on the other hand, in Greenland, there's a shark species apparently that can live for up to 400 years. One shark. Some deep sea sponges can live for 1,000 years. Some of them even up to 11,000 years apparently, one sponge. 11,000 years. The oldest known tortoise on this planet is almost 200. He's 192 years old apparently. There's a species of pine trees native to America that, according to the scientists, are about 5,000 years old. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the giant redwoods in America, the sequoias. Have you seen them? You seen them, Itraku? The redwood trees? They're in California. They're huge. The trunk of the tree is about almost from that end of the temple room to where Prabhupada's sitting. That is the trunk. There's one of them, some strange humans, cut a hole in it so a car could drive through. Typical, isn't it? Imagine, that's their leg. They stand there for 3,000 years. I was talking about all this weird stuff to Bhakti yesterday or the day before, and he said, don't forget octopuses. Boy, are they strange. They're like otherworldly. They've got 3 hearts. Their blood is blue. They're incredibly intelligent. They're capable of using tools. They can solve puzzles, open jars, even from the inside. They can recognize human faces. In less than a second, they can change colour and texture, and an octopus can then mimic, like if he's being threatened by something, he can change his body to look like a poisonous sea snake in a second. They can rewire their brains to adapt to different ocean temperatures. Their arms are highly sensitive. Through their arm, they can taste and touch. They have separate brain cells in the arms. Some of them can even go onto land and breathe through their skin. The smallest of them, octopuses, weighs less than a gram, and it measures just over a centimetre big. And the biggest of them weighs over 90 kilograms, or over 200 pounds. And his arms are almost 7 metres long, each one. These are pretty strange bodies. Well, there's another octopus apparently in an aquatic centre in Birmingham that completed a Rubik's Cube in 5.24 seconds. We strut around the planet, isn't thinking we are so intelligent. Nothing else is intelligent except us. Imagine this thing can do a Rubik's Cube in 5 seconds, and it's in this strange body. So, and all of these strange bodies are energized by a soul that is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. Imagine something that's got arms that are 7 meters long. It's still energized by this tiny little soul, 10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, all beautiful, glorious, mighty creations spring from just a spark of my splendor. Whatever his splendor is, all these things are just a spark. Srila Prabhupada comments, all these extraordinary beings are but parts and parcels of the supreme energetic, Lord Krishna. Except for the Lord himself, everyone is subordinate. No one is independent of the Lord. Science has long observed that all these creatures are guided by so-called instinct. Like, I remember seeing this little video once of a mother duckling, and she had her baby ducklings up on like a cliff, and the river is way, way down. So at a certain point, she figures out, okay, it's time, kids. We're going to the river. She just jumps off. Down she goes. These tiny little ducklings, each one of them has to just jump off. But somehow there's something in them that's telling them what to do. So one after the other, you see these little guys go, but once they hit the water, they know what to do. So Prabhupada comments, so where from this instinct comes? Like, we've all heard that, haven't we, in science class when we were at school, that these animals are guided by instinct. But Prabhupada says, so where does instinct come from? It comes from the Supreme. The Supreme as super soul exists in all living creatures. Prabhupada says in the Vedanta Sutra, you will find everything, whatever you are finding in the material world or spiritual world, everything comes from the Supreme. Janmadi Jasya Yataha. He is the supreme source, the fountainhead of everything. So I was thinking, the Bhagavatam doesn't exactly glorify Swayambhuva just because he has a long life. The Bhagavatam's not saying, wow, he lives for so many years, this is amazing. The Bhagavatam's glorifying Swayambhuva Manu because of what he did with his life. In fact, the Bhagavatam's not all that impressed with the ability to live just a long time. There's that famous verse, Kim pramatasya bahubhihi parokshe hayanariha varam mahotam viditam gatate shriya shejataha. What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted? Inexperienced by years in this world. Better, just a moment of full consciousness, because that consciousness gives us a start, starting to look after our real self-interest. Instead of a long, prolonged life, like that word, inexperienced by years in the world, meaning, going on birth, death, disease, old age, suffering, but not learning anything from it. What's the point? Better just to have even a moment of full consciousness, because at that moment we're going to start to search after what is my real interest. In the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada tells us Shukadev Goswami, who is speaking the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Pariksit, we know that is one of the themes of the Bhagavatam. How long has Pariksit got to live? The new devotees? 7 days. So Sukadev is encouraging Pariksit. Imagine you're faced with a situation, you've got a week, and at the end of the week it's all over. You'd be really, if someone's offering transcendental advice, you'd be listening, wouldn't you? So Sukadev's he's encouraging Pariksit. He's saying, what is the value of having many years if we're inexperienced, if we're not learning the lessons? He says to Pariksit, better just to have this one moment of full consciousness where we are fully aware of our relationship with the Supreme. Because that one moment will start us on that search of what is my real interest. Who am I really? It says in the verse, Swayambhuva Manu was always thinking of Vasudeva, always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. In the purport, today's purport, Srila Prabhupada's pointing out that excuse me, according to our past and present actions, a destination awaits us. According to what I'm doing with my life, a certain destination awaits me. If I act like this, I'm going to get to this sort of destination. The Bhagavatam points out what are these it points out the modes of nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, that each one of these is going to lead us to a particular destination. How I act now will propel me to my next destination. According to how we associate with the different modes of nature, we are infected by them. The modes of nature are also referred to as the gunas. Anyone know what that means? Not you. Guna means rope, that we are tied up by those modes of nature. How are we tied up by those modes of nature? According to my conditioning, what samskaras I've taken on, the quality of my mind, I feel comfortable with certain qualities. Sleepiness, anger, laziness, feeling proud, different qualities I can feel comfortable with, according to what mode of nature you've been infected by. Or I can desire to dominate the material world, material nature, to achieve grandiose plans, wanting recognition. I was thinking of some of the richest people on the planet, just driven by this incessant desire to accumulate vast sums of money, according to the modes of nature that they've been infected by. Like there's one billionaire on the planet, he's 90-something, and he's still just trying to make money. You'd sort of think the penny should drop. I'm 90, I'm near the end. Is all I'm going to do in this life make money? But he's infected by a certain mode of nature, by a mode of passion. Or a bit less common, people can have the need to be surrounded by peacefulness, being very contemplative, only living in quiet surroundings, the mode of goodness. Not many people are infected by those qualities. All of you are. Actually, all of you are above even those qualities. So we associate with those different influences because we become bound by them. While we are affected by the modes of passion and ignorance, we cannot understand the absolute truth. So while I am infected with those lower modes, the desire to be recognized, the desire, for recognition, for fame, whatever, for some position, I can't understand the absolute truth. But Krishna makes us a promise in the Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter. Mam cha yogyacharyana bhakti yogana sevate sagunan samatitjaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Anyone who seriously engages in my service, look at everyone here, anyone who seriously engages in my service immediately becomes transcendental to the material qualities and comes to the platform of Brahman or spirit. That's a pretty good promise, huh? A pretty good guarantee. You engage in Krishna's service, immediately you're transcendental to the modes of nature. Prabhupada comments in the purport to that verse. Such a person is situated in Brahma Bhuta or self-realized stage. So once we're on that platform of acting in a way that is devotional service, all we have to do is just to stay with the program. Be patient. That's probably the biggest demand on us, just to be patient and keep it going, keep the process going. Don't become sidetracked. I can vouch that the Mayadevi is always there offering some alternative. Have you tried this? And down the path we go. So as long as we can just become patient and don't become sidetracked. Srimad Bhagavatam describes that our service and our attitude, which includes our mind, that devotional attitude, that service attitude, has to be uninterrupted and without some mundane motive behind it for it to be fully satisfying for the self. We know that our constitutional position is that we're servants. We are always faced, at least while we're in the neophyte stage, that I have to decide. I can try to independently enjoy my senses, or I can serve Krishna. We may serve Krishna, we may try and just serve our senses. The difficulty is that if I try and just serve my senses independently, all I'm doing is simply increasing my misery. By separately trying to enjoy the senses, I become bound up in a network of unrelenting desires, unsatisfied desires. I suffer momentarily, and then again you suffer. Sorry, I can enjoy momentarily, and then again we suffer. So in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada says, although Swayambhuva Manu, remember, he was the ruler of a vast, vast empire, at least all this planet, maybe the universe. Although he appeared to be absorbed in material happiness, he was neither in the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. He was in the transcendental stage, it says in the verse, in the purport. Because he saw his position as service to Vishnu or the Supreme. A verse coming up states that Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all the living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashrams. So he was performing his duty with the consciousness of meditating on Vasudeva. The lesson here, I think, is that whatever position we find ourselves in, and at different times of our life we're going to find ourselves in different positions. It can be in the midst of family life, maybe running a business, some devotees engaged in a profession, whatever. We can do that, we can carry out that position as a service to Krishna. That position, that activity can become our very means of developing our relationship with Krishna by carrying on that duty. In today's verse, Prabhupada says, people are after dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Generally, they perform religious activities just to achieve some sort of material gain. We know that the nature of this world is that we are trying to search out happiness and get relief from misery. That's what we're doing. We know there are three kinds of miseries caused by our material condition. Anyone know those three miseries? Dharma? Yep. You know what they are? Which one? Yeah, adibodhika. Body and our mind, adhyatmika. And the surroundings, the demigods, adidaivika. It's either too hot or it's too wet or too cold, like whatever. So these conditions are always pushing on us. So the less intelligent path it's described, like dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Prabhupada says that path is transcendental. It's better than someone who's an atheist. But it's less intelligent because I'm still in that particular consciousness. I'm still thinking that some material situation will satisfy me. Even when I approach the Supreme, I'm approaching the Supreme for some material benefit. We've already experienced no amount of material benefit really satisfies us. So if I approach the Supreme with my material vision, Prabhupada says generally people perform religious activity, that's in today's verse, hoping to achieve material gain. They perform religious activities hoping to achieve material gain. So it's sad, isn't it, that I would you approach the Supreme, but then you're like Dr. Frog. Well, you can't conceive of anything bigger than, well, there's that funny story of a guy who had, in India, he had this position of towing a barge along a river. And the path along the edge of the river is not very nice. It's stones and what have you. So he's granted this benediction that you can have anything you want. So what does he think? Okay, if only I could have mattresses along the edge of the path. Not to think, let me get out of this situation. No, give me some nice mattresses. So we're a bit like that, isn't it, when we approach the Supreme? Instead of just, when we're chanting Hare Krishna, when we're seeing the deities, to be thinking that only that which is affecting my real self is going to satisfy my spiritual nature. Nothing else will ultimately satisfy you. So after being frustrated then by material sense gratification, the next step is to desire moksha, liberation. Prabhupada comments here, in India, moksha means wanting, a desire to merge with the Supreme. I was thinking in the West, it's more like people just want to escape from their poverty, from failing health, or they're feeling that their lives are unsuccessful. They just want out. I don't think they have that conception of merging with the Supreme here. It's a bit too advanced. That actually, when that Indian Maharaj was here the other day, I can't think of his name. Yeah. Purushottam Maharaj. So he asked that Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, what's the best, what's the worst situation? He said, what's the best? And someone said, well, maybe Moksha. He said, it's actually the very worst. Because that, in that in that Eastern conception of moksha, it means that it's negating my real position where I'm a servant of the Supreme, where I have a unique loving relationship. If my desire is to become one with the Supreme, then I'm completely losing that ability that we all have, that birthright, so to speak, to have a unique loving relationship with the Supreme. In today's purport, there's a quote from Bilva Mangala Thakur: "If I have unflinching devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna, then Mother Liberation is always engaged in my service." So this type of Dharma is described as only for the less intelligent, but it's how most people view religion. In the Western countries, I was thinking, we've had this phenomenon in the West of what they call mega churches. Mega churches, mega congregations. They have people preaching on television, even asking for donations on TV, and they're offering material benefits. Like there's, in America, it's famous that these tele-evangelists, they're called. They're saying, if you just give me some money, guaranteed you're going to get 7 times that amount back. So it's not even like I'm giving a donation for spiritual reasons. I'm only giving a donation because I want 7 times back. It's like cheating from beginning to end. These mega churches, as they're called, in the suburbs, we see that actually some of the leaders of our country, some of the politicians, there they are, engaged in this process, just looking for a material reward, that you're conceiving the Supreme as just something better materially. This philosophy is sometimes known as prosperity theology or prosperity gospel or health and wealth gospel. Not all Christian followers have this belief, but there are this sort of charismatic Christian churches, they're called. Their theology is that God wants his believers to be blessed with health, wealth, and material success, and that financial success is seen as God's favor on you. It encourages the people involved in this process, especially the leaders, to become caught up with private jets and multi-million-dollar homes, which is evidence of God's love. Imagine that you're seeing to be even more entangled in material things. You're thinking that's God's gift on you? I don't think so. I've even seen, I think it was in the context of some Chinese worship, and there was a picture of their altar, and on the altar they had some little Mercedes cars, so that in your next life you're going to have a nice Mercedes Benz. Imagine that your idea of the Supreme or of perfection is to have a Mercedes car. I mean, it's pretty much Dr. Frog, isn't it? So, or in India, we see examples of people who worship Lakshmi. They're not worshipping Narayan with Lakshmi. They're trying to worship Lakshmi on her own, and all they want is wealth. So there's another understanding of the word Dharma, of course. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse, the Bhagavatam says, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. And there's another famous verse, Vaipum Samparo Dhamma, Yato Bhakti Adoksaje, Haitu Kiya Pariyata, Yayatma Suprashidati. The supreme occupation, all humans, the supreme occupation for humanity is that by which we can attain loving devotional service to the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to satisfy the self. So the verse mentions in the Sanskrit, Paro Dhamma, Paro Dhammo, Prabhupada translates, para means superior, transcendental, not material. So this Dharma, it's a superior Dharma, transcendental. He says there's an inferior Dharma and a superior Dharma. Inferior means to serve some material purposes. Therefore, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it is said, Dharma projita kaitavotra. Vyasadeva said that kaitava Dharma, kaitava means cheating or pretending, false, that this cheating religion is kicked out. The Bhagavatam kicks out this false conception of religion asking for material benefits. In that verse, the supreme occupation for humanity is that by which we could attain to loving service. I was thinking that even though the Bhagavatam is talking of the supreme occupation, it doesn't attempt any career guidance. It's not saying you should do like this, or this. It's just saying ultimately whatever you do, that whatever you're doing should be giving you loving devotional service. Whatever you do, we should ask the question, is what I'm doing helping me to attain loving devotional service? Prabhupada says, I have purposely defined Dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word Dharma is that which sustains one's existence. We've all probably heard where Prabhupada said, Dharma is not something that can be changed, like faith. Today I can be a Hindu, tomorrow I can become a Christian, maybe even the day after I can be a Mohammedan, a Muslim. Faith can be changed, but that essential characteristic within us, it can't be changed, the nature of the soul or the self. And that our nature, a symptom of that nature, is that our nature is to serve. It is the abiding characteristic of all of us that we're going to serve. All living entities, in fact, Prabhupada says. He even uses the example of a lioness. He says a lioness is serving her cubs. I would never have thought of a lioness as serving. But she is, obviously. The female lion is serving her cubs. So that when we're engaged in transcendental loving service, devotional service, it is called bhakti. And that is our natural inclination. It is transcendental and completely, this is Prabhupada's word, it is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of the servant and the served, he says, is the most congenial form of intimacy. Krishna is the complete whole. Everything else is his part and parcel. And the relation is one of the servant and the served. That relation can be very intimate and becomes more and more sweet. He says one can realize this as our devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in our present conditional state. I had this, just to finish off, I was looking at a picture of Prabhupada the other day, and he's got his sannyas top cloth on, his sannyas dhoti. So I was thinking, like in this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, there's a progression of things that happen, that if you're given, you worship the Supreme, maybe you're going to be given some material prosperity. But if you're given it, what are you going to do with it? Generally, people just use it for sense gratification, isn't it? They're not using it for some higher purpose. But in Prabhupada's case, like this picture I was looking at, I was thinking that the very earliest pictures of Prabhupada, when he first arrived in New York, he's got his sannyas cloth on, his sannyas dhoti. So within a few years, that society of ISKCON that Prabhupada founded had spread internationally, and it had undergone immense gain in wealth. Like ISKCON must have been worth millions in only a few short years. But Prabhupada's position didn't change. He didn't use any of that material gain to change his position. He just used all of it to serve Krishna. Alalana was pointing out to me, he even continued to fly economy. There's this one fantastic photo of Srila Prabhupada making his way down the centre of the island in an economy section. Can you imagine? He's at an advanced age of life, flying economy. What do they call it? The cattle car? The Shringa could tell us all about the joys of flying in aeroplanes. It's vile. Prabhupada says, devotional service to the Supreme Lord leads us to our eternal, blissful, all-cognizant life. He said it's the superior quality of occupation. Okay, anyone have anything they'd like to add? Any comments?
Hare Krishna. You seem to indicate that that little spirit soul, that 10,000 tip of a hair, he's moving that body, big body. But my understanding is that Krishna is moving that body. All the soul is doing is desiring. Yeah. Is that correct? So the living entity is not actually moving the material energy, is he? All he's doing is desiring. Yeah. Because there are also demigods. Demigods are involved in those processes. It's very complex.